On today's show, silent meditation retreats, addiction and harmful behaviors, childhood trauma, scarcity mindset, and renting puppies as a business. So what the fuck happened, man?
Uh, so you know me, I love speed, but when I go into like residential, especially I was going to apply a car, there's like a nice residential gated area. I was going nice and slow, but have you ever ridden a motorcycle?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like when it's dry roads, you can lean into the curve a bit better. When it's wet, you go nice and slow. So perfectly dry roads, going around this like 9-degree corner, nice and like slow-ish, right? Like probably 120 kilometers an hour, 30 or something like that. And then out of nowhere, there's a fucking river flowing through the fucking middle of the street. Right? Someone just like left their hose on or something. So I'm going around the corner, leaned, coming around the corner, water, whoop, slip out and on the middle of the road. I'm like, oh, so my wrist hurts. I got bruising on my palm. I pulled something in my elbow. I got bruises up my ass, up my ass, on my hip.
Jesus.
I bent the handlebars of the bike, so now I got to bring it to the shop after this. And I'm riding like crooked like this now, so I can't bend it back. So it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a car coming towards me, but it turned out and it was good. And again, I weave in and out of traffic all the time, but like I know how to drive to the conditions. So I was expecting a dry corner, right?
Yeah. So it's not like you were like popping wheelies and doing fucking stoppies and shit and on the highway.
I'm 250 pounds on a 250cc bike. I don't think I could do a wheelie with that thing.
Yeah, probably not. Well, at least you didn't have to like get hauled off in an ambulance or any of that shit, man. What do they say? Like you have to get in at least one accident every once in a while with motorcycles.
I think to consider yourself like a motorcyclist, you have to at least crash it once. You have to lay your bike over at least once.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I used to race motocross when I was younger, so like I've bailed numerous times. But with motocross, you got $400 boots on that go up your ankle. You got your chest protector and shoulder pads and your gloves, and you're prepared to like hit a tree, right?
Yeah.
Well,
hopefully it's dirt and sand and grass. Well, I know dirt's not always soft, but
I was wearing flip flops and shorts because it's Mexico, so I was not protected at all.
Well, fuck it. God, well, you're right. It could have been a lot worse. That still hurt. It still hurts though. Fucking. How much damage do you think is done to the bike, like money wise?
Not that much, really. I cracked one of the mirrors. I got to replace the mirrors now. Excuse me. Coffee cream in my throat. The handlebars bent pretty good, so I don't know if they can just like get like a snipe on it and bend it back into position, or I got to replace the handlebar. Cool trick. So my old dirt bike, when I was riding dirt bikes, I bent it, I laid it over a few times, but the throttle would stick. So if I was going down the road or going down the dirt trail and I like gave it a bit of gas, I could let go of it and still give it gas. Yeah. Right, which is not what you want to have on a bike. But so now my bike does that, so now I can be hands-free driving down the road. Yeah. I'm like, no, don't give me an excuse.
It's like a Tesla now. It's like fucking auto drives itself. It's like the cheapest Tesla in Mexico.
Turn left.
Jesus Christ! Well, at least, like you said, at least you didn't land on your face, and at least a little bit of road burn fucking hurts. But God,
yeah. Well, I think the worst part is like the wrist. The wrist hurts really bad because I landed right on it to support myself, and then I think I pulled something in this elbow because when I landed, this held onto the handlebar, so it pulled something out of here. So it's a little banged up.
Yeah, the wrist has like, I forget, they say that it has like 20 bones in it or some shit. It's one of those things. I slipped last. When we were somewhere in Kuala Lumpur, and I had bamboo socks on like a douchebag. I had these like fancy eco-friendly socks on, and I slipped on some
like your bamboo shirts.
Yeah. Well, yeah, same shit. And I slipped and I caught myself, like, when you fall backwards and catch yourself. And there was no permanent damage. My fucking wrist hurt for like 3 months. I'm like, are you serious? That shit hurts, man.
Oh yeah. When I was a baby, I can't remember if I broke one wrist or two wrists, but I was like 3 years old or something like that. And I guess I tripped on a set of stairs and landed with my hands like this. And as a child, I broke my wrist. And so my dad told me the story not too long ago, a couple of years back. And he's like, oh, Sean, if I was single or not with your mother, I could have picked up so many women. So he'd bring me to the grocery store and have this little tiny baby cast on. All the way like, oh my God, poor baby.
Somebody I knew used to go to the shelter. It's a different topic, but used to go to the shelter where the animals are and give me your oldest dog. And then they would take him out and like push him around in a cart and like it's his last couple days. I'm just taking him out, and then you go take him back to each other. I was like, it's brilliant and it's fucking sick at the same time. But
I thought of a great business idea is renting out puppies to single men.
no, that's a good
Right?
idea.
Just have like this puppy factory. Like once they get too old, I don't know what you do with them, donate them or something like that. But just like rent out puppies, right? Yeah, that'd be a good business. 'Cause, like anytime you ever go out and someone has a puppy, every single girl, oh my god, right?
Everybody likes puppies.
I mean, I guess keep them, but
Yeah.
But let's say, let's say you're in a big city like Vancouver or where like Detroit or New York or something like that. You can't have a dog, right? Especially if you're busy, something like that. But you're single, want to try and meet women or something like that. Just like call up rentapuppy.com or something like that, 1-800-RENT-A-PUPPY, and then just rent a dog for the day and pick up a girl. And then where did the puppy go? Oh, that was my parents. You just make up some story, right? But like just at the initial meet.
Yeah, it was temporary. I just went through them off the roof. No big deal. It's like you got to have like the puppy and then like the elderly dog.
Oh, no. You rent the puppy, meet the girl, and then when she falls for you, then you have this tragic story about how the puppy choked on a bone and died. And now you have the sympathy, right? Like, oh my god.
Oh my god, this is great. We could also supply like the photo, like the frames and the photos. And I don't know if we could publish this, but we're going to anyway. You could also give them like a little urn with the dog's name on it. Like, yeah, those are his ashes over there.
Yeah,
some coffee grounds in there.
We can do like a day with a photographer where we go to like different parks and he wears different clothing. So he has pictures of him playing with a puppy and like a timeline or something like that.
Oh god. So hopefully nobody steals this. if there's any sociopaths out there.
It's a really cold idea, but like you could turn it into a very it'd be like that movie Hitch, right? Where he's like the matchmaker. It'd be like that, where it's like kind of frowned upon, but like still like helping guys find love or something like that.
So we don't really know what we're doing here. We're just this is technically our first recording. It could be a pilot episode. It may not be. Nobody cares.
I think this is a great pilot episode. We're just kind of bouncing shit back and forth. I mean, we could. I mean, how's this? Because we had no preparation for this whatsoever. What would be a topic we'd want to talk about? Because we're talking about, we can do a little bit of life shit, a little bit of stuff like that. But what would be a good informational topic we talk about today for the viewers out there that we have?
Yeah, the viewers for the zero followers can't be wrong. But so fucking
start from the bottom over here.
Anyway, so this is the Strat Show, whatever that means. We're not really sure ourselves. It's basically going to be, it's short for strategy. It could be short for something else that comes out. It could be short for some weird, venereal disease that they discover a year from now. And then we'll be like, hey, we got the name, we got the .com, so.
Patient zero.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, these guys were talking about this before, Like I'm sure somebody had the syphilis show. Damn it. We missed it. We should have used that one. The clap show. Or was that chlamydia? I forget. But anyway.
I think clap is chlamydia, yeah.
We also have vastly different life experiences and just a whole lot of shit going on between traveling and just being in different parts of the world and our backgrounds and everything else. So what we want to do like a blend of sales and marketing strategy and business strategy. And then we also want to blend in some life and wellness strategy, because obviously you're into a lot of health and wellness things. Like I do my own stuff. Everybody has their own take on that. Literally, we have like a cross section of just about everybody. So I'm hoping that we can bring a lot of shit to the table. It's going to be health and life and wellness strategies, and then a whole bunch of nonsense in between, then in business and marketing, which fucking changes every day. So anyway, I'll shut up now if you want to add something to that.
No. I find like, you tune into a show or something like that, and it's helpful, it's useful. There's a lot of information for it, right? You're going over like, marketing techniques or how to do copywriting. But there's no filler in between. So you're just like, after the first 3 minutes, like, oh my God, this is like, I know the numbers are important. I get it. But like, make me laugh a little bit. Tell me a story. Like incorporate how what you're talking about fits into your life as well, right? Like, I mean, people are like, it's like going to school, right? Like when I went to university, I had, I don't know, six different teachers or professors in different subjects, whatever. And my favorite ones weren't necessarily the ones that were the smartest, but the ones that engaged the audience, engaged the class and the students, because like, you're like, oh, like, they'd start the day off with a funny joke, right? And then you'd be like, oh, awesome, right? So instead of just like, I had one, I'll leave his name out of it, but he was the architect, because I went to engineering, he was our main architect. His job was to read out and like help us study the British Columbia building code. So it's a book this big, right, of all like how big a 2x4 could be, what the rafters sizes are, what the pitch is on a roof, depending on where you are in British Columbia for the snowfall. It's already a fucking boring class. Like, you can't make reading code of buildings any more exciting, right? Well, you can, but like, you go in, okay, so today we're gonna be going over the elevation that's required for drainage under the build. It's like,
oh my God, man. Oh God. I mean,
right.
it's hurting me just hearing about 10 seconds of it. So.
But again, the information that he was teaching was very important, right? So same thing with a lot of these shows that are out there. The information they're doing is very important. But if you're just reading out the facts and the numbers, no one's gonna listen, right? And the ones that do listen, very small percentage of you're gonna lose the audience, you're gonna lose the students, you're gonna lose the clientele because they're bored, right? So like talking about some funny shit that we did and how you know me for a while now, but like I got stories of me traveling across the United States and Mexico in a motorhome, crazy ways how I've met different clients, like going to fucking black SUVs in a Tulum party, like just crazy shit, right? But allowing those stories to also dictate how you are applying your life experiences to your business is going to be huge, right? I remember you mentioned one thing about your silent retreat you're going on. So like, what exactly is the silent retreat? Like, what are you allowed to do in this for 2 weeks you're gone?
Well, we're about to find out because Ori Goldstein, who we'll have on the show, he's the hypnotherapist that we also work for. He's been in hypnotherapy for, I don't know, 20 something years now, and based out of Florida. Again, we'll have him on. He's very similar to us. He'll come on. He's, like it's going to be explicit because that's who we are. And there's no reason to come on here and pretend. If you don't like us cursing and talking about raunchy things, then just go listen to somebody else. That's totally fine with us, so, but he's awesome. He's a hypnotherapist. He's been in the space for about 20 years now. He went on a silent retreat in Georgia. It's free. That's the fucking weird part. So there's a Buddhist temple here, not too far from me in Detroit, of all places. And it's 12 days. I go in, they take my phone. I have to take 12 days worth of clothes with me. I have to take a meditation pillow and some bedding. And they essentially, there's a schedule. You're not allowed to talk to anybody. There's other people there. You're not allowed to talk to anybody. They feed you up until noon, I think. And you're not allowed to exercise or do anything. And the idea is that you're literally trapped in your own thoughts all the time because they don't even want you to exercise. Because, when you exercise, you kind of like release a little bit. And it's a distraction. They don't want zero distractions. So there's no media, no news, no books, nothing to do except fucking sit in your own thoughts. And they have instructors there. You can talk to the instructors. They have certain breaks, so you can go whisper to them, but you can't speak to any other students. But it's like dormitory living. I think they're like, which is not, obviously I was in the military a long time ago. It's not like I have a hard time living in a small group of people, but it's going to be strange because one doesn't really know all the shit that's in here, pointing to my head for people listening to this on audio. Nobody knows what kind of shit's up here until you sit. And Ori, the guy I mentioned, the hypnotherapist, he has been in the mental health field for 25 years now, whatever. He knows how to handle these things because he helps other people through these types of issues. Well, on day 8, and we actually did an episode, I can link it to this one. He and I talked about his experience at the retreat. On day 8, he's like cruising along. He's like, this is great. I'm having a good time. I'm like, because you don't, I'll back up a second, because you're with your thoughts all day and you're with your thoughts all night. Because when you go to sleep to dream at night, if you didn't do anything except sit and stare at a tree and think about in your own head all day, when you go to bed at night, what do you dream about? Like there's not all this bullshit. So he said nighttime was like just as bad because you're just like, fuck, because your thoughts from the daytime are also coming in at night. Because like today, I'm going to see a million things. We're going to do this. I'm going to be on my phone all fucking day like an idiot. You know what I mean? I'm going to have all these things I can dream about. But when you don't, so he said that was super weird. So like day 8 or 9, he's cruising right along. He's like, this is great. I could do this forever. And then all of a sudden he was sitting on his, and I won't tell the whole story because I'll link to the other show, but he was sitting on his little meditation mat middle of the day. He started to feel like he was drowning, and he's a hypnotherapist and a therapist. He's licensed. So he was like trying to talk himself out of it. And he was like, I feel like I'm drowning. He's like, I can't fight it. He's like, I'm going to scream or pass out in front of these people. Like his throat was closing, and he was telling me the story, and he's like, I know better. I'm a professional, and I can't make this stop. And it wouldn't stop. And some memory came back to him that hadn't he hadn't remembered until then of when he was like 4 years old and his mother had somebody come over to the house. He's from South Africa. Somebody come over to the house, and like sometimes when babies are little, they throw them in the pool to teach them how to get out of the pool, like drown proofing. So he had his mom paid somebody to do that to him when he was little. So it was perfectly normal back then. He's 45, so they perfectly normal back in those days. Like go throw your kid in the pool, make sure he can get out. He didn't remember any of that until he sat with himself for like 9 and then he kept the next day. He's like, I'm drowning. He's like, I'm drowning. He's like, this is fucking bullshit. Like how do I stop this? And then finally on the 10th night, I believe he went to sleep and he felt something release. He said, it felt like somebody hit me in the back of the head with a board, like as he was laying in his mattress. So he knew that nobody hit him. And he said that he's like, shit, like 40 years worth of that trauma from being 4 years old finally released somewhere. And he was like, it felt amazing. But he's like, the feeling of sitting on that mat in a room with other people all around you. And he's like, I'm going to pass out right now. So anyway, to your question of what's going to happen there, I don't know. So that makes me a little nervous. See, it's exciting and it's nerve wracking at the same time. But the thing is, I think, and I know you agree with this mindset because I've known you for a while now. I would rather try all these things and see what's going on up here in my mind. I don't want to, because there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, I don't want to know. I don't want to journal too much. I don't want to see. I'm like, dude, open me up. Give me ayahuasca. Give me shrooms. Make me nuts. And I think you would agree. I'm like, whatever's going on in here, even if it's bad, fucking get it out, man. So anyway, that's the retreat.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, my personal health coach, whatever, he's just a general coach. He's doing the exact same thing. But I think even that one, you're not allowed to write anything. You're not allowed to journal, nothing. Like, I'm pretty sure it might be similar to yours or not.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you can't journal. So he's doing that, I think, for 10 days as well. And like, my initial reaction is like, oh my God. It wasn't even like I was scared to do that. I was actually, the first thought that I had, which is, I'm trying to work through this like in the last couple of days, is the first thought I had was, what about my business? That's the first thing that came to my mind. I wasn't even worried about like my mental health, what's going to happen, what am I going to discover? And that means I need to just like learn how to like detach a bit from work. Because my first initial thought after someone telling me about a retreat to help your mental health, the first thing I thought was, what about my clients? What about my work? Yep. I'm like, yeah, that's not a good thing to have, right? So I need to like kind of go through that. And yeah, I mean, prior, which is kind of funny, I mean, prior to coming to Mexico, I did probably this much mental health work. I mean, the only mental health work that I did was I went to the gym actively as much as I possibly could, which is good for your body, but it's also good for your mindset too, right? But I never did any coaching. I never did any therapy. Now I have a therapist. Now I have a coach, which is because, I mean, growing up in the environment that I grew up in, I grew up in a great household, loving family, but my work was, oil rigs, railroad. I did engineering for 5 years in university and stuff like that, but it didn't pay very well, so I got higher paying jobs. But, if I ever, went to my tool push, which is like the supervisor of an oil rig, be like, hey, I'm really feeling some discomfort in my aurora of my mindset right now. Or is there, it's like, I'm feeling kind of hurt. Like my inner child needs some work. You'd be like, you fucking little pussy bitch, get the fuck back to work. Like, oh, you just get killed, right? Yeah. You try to have a conversation with your best friends. Like, I think I need a therapy. Like, therapy, in my mind back then, was for people that are broken or damaged.
Yeah. They're like, take a shot, you pussy. Drink.
Yeah, drink. Go do some drugs, right? Get over it, right? So like, I had this stigma towards like, I don't need a therapist. I'm fine. I'm great. Like, and then even, I never processed negative emotions. I never cried. I cried maybe like 5 times in my life. A couple breakups, when my dog died, and I cried for 30 seconds when my mom died. That's about it, right? And I thought like I'm like, oh, I don't need any help. I don't even cry. Like, I don't even get sad. This is perfect. This is great. Yeah. Like, why do I want to be blubbered on the bed for 4 days? Like, I'm doing fine. And I realized I'm like, oh no, that's not okay. Right? Like, I need to process stuff.
Yeah, it's in there somewhere. The body keeps the score. I know that's the name of a book, and it's kind of cliche, but it's true. Something could happen to you when you're 2 years old. You don't even remember, and it's trapped in here somewhere. And I don't mean that like a woo way, but I mean like it does. Like there's tension and trauma trapped in our fucking minds. So you didn't even cry when you fell off the motorcycle, huh?
No, I just got right back up, fucking rebent the handlebar as best I could, dusted, brushed off the blood on my leg, and got back on, started, and drove to my girlfriend's house. Yeah. And then I got in there, I was like, I need help.
Yeah.
Fix me, please.
Well, that's the
But
thing. Like
yeah.
usually, right after an accident, you get that adrenaline rush, or even if it's a light one, and then because your body takes over, and then it's like a few hours later where you're like, oh, fuck, everything starts to hurt.
Oh yeah, like I woke like today, like yesterday morning was I did that 2 days ago. So yesterday was all right, a little sore, but like now like my hip hurts. Like I got like bruising on the top of my knee. I'm like, how did I get a bruise on this side of the knee? I fell on this side. Like my wrist is like in pain. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm old, but like I remember when I used to like crash my motorcycle into a tree. I'd like hit the tree right in the chest, and, like get knocked off my bike. I'd be like, oh, let's go again. And then the next day I'm back riding again. Like I'm just invincible when you're younger. Right?
Yeah, kids are stupid, man. They'll hop right up. And now, like if I fall down, which isn't often, but if I fall now, I just lay there for a second and like start taking inventory. Like, can I wiggle my toes? Can I feel my hand? Instead of, because before you just jump up and keep going. But yeah, no, I fuck, man. Like it's in terms of like careers and upbringing. You know, both came from great homes, great whatever, like middle class. Like we were okay. We weren't rich, but we were okay. And you know, I was in the military, then law enforcement for a while. So the same culture where it's like, hey, man, like. I'm feeling a little down today. They would be like, what's wrong with you? So you can bring that kind of stuff up. And it in one way, I'm kind of like, I'm glad that we're in tune with it now. If I'm like, I don't know if therapy's for me, or I don't know if journaling's for me, or you name it, any one of those mental health things that are popular these days and been around for a while, even, I don't know if that's for me. Like, well, just fucking do it one time. And if you hate it, you hate it. Like, cause what happens if you try it and you just feel a million times better? Like, and then 20 years from now, like I hate using this cliche, like the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago and the second best time is today. But it's true. It's like, okay, so I didn't know shit in my 20s. I wish I had known. I'm 44, but I'm like, I don't want to wait till I'm 64 either. So anyway, to the point of mental health, which we will talk a lot about on the show, is like, it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter where you came from. Like there's so many ways to get help. There's online therapists now that you can go, like Better Health and all that stuff. I think it's what it's called. There's all these apps where, like before you'd be limited to whoever your therapist was in your town, and now
the 1-800 suicide hotline if you got too far deep. So
and you don't want to call them because they probably file a police report or something. You know, I mean, I don't want to say you don't want to call them for, you know, call them if you need to. But but now you can go on. It's like dating, online dating. You go on and you're like, oh, I don't like this therapist. Then you could go through 10 therapists before you finally find the one that you really like. And there's no excuse for that. So anyway, we're not saying everybody needs therapy, but you know.
Well, my biggest, like, for those that are listening that are wondering if they need to have therapy or not, the best way I can describe it is, why do I need a therapist? If I can get advice from my friends or my family or something like that, when you have a therapist, they're giving you 100% unbiased opinions, advice, or thoughts. Because what happens, what I've noticed is, like, let's say I was having relationship problems with a girlfriend of mine, like back in the past. Well, I would ask my friend, bring it up to my friend, talk about, what's going on. Even if they aren't consciously trying to sabotage my relationship, they have invested interest in me. So they're going to give me advice that's going to benefit our relationship, and therefore might not be the best advice. Like, or they're going to give you advice based on their trauma. It's like, oh yeah, she didn't text you last night. She's definitely cheating on you. She's definitely cheating on you, right? Because they have trauma themselves based on whatever scenario that might be. But when you actually hire a therapist, they don't know your friends. They don't know your girlfriend. They have no idea what's going on with your life. So if you bring them up a scenario or a topic or conversation, they're just going to give you their educated and best opinion. They don't even give you advice. They actually just ask you questions for you to figure it out yourself. Right? It's because I noticed that I had asked, some of my guys, like my guy friends questions and stuff like that, and they just got out of a relationship. So everything, even if they didn't say break up with your girlfriend or, leave her, like you should put up with that shit intentionally, they would just, their internal clock and what they were talking about, what's going on in their lives, they wanted to make sure that they got more time with me, that our friendship grew better. So if they knew that, hey, if I tell him to break up with his girl or quit that job, I'll see more of Sean.
Right?
So I think that's why I don't take advice from friends. I'll take advice from, financial advice and like what I want to do and, should we go to the gym? And there's some advice you do, but when it dictates like personal outcomes, like with your relationships with your friends or family, therapists is the best way to do it because it's all unbiased. All unbiased. And they have no invested interest.
That's a super good point. It's all objective, and you're right. Like, people around you are going to look at things through their lens, even if they don't mean to. It's like we can't help it. Like, it's just our mind. Because every time somebody brings a problem to me, and it could be about anything, or not even a problem, or comment, my brain automatically goes back to like, when did that happen to me, and what did I do? Like, even if I'm not trying to, that's what our brains fucking do, man. It's fucking crazy. But yeah, no, I can't underscore enough. Like, this went from talking about whatever to now we're talking about therapy, mental health. But again, this is going to be one of our main themes. I can't underscore, like, just try everything one time, man. Just there's so many powerful things out there. Like, if you read some deathbed confessionals and everything else, I mean, there's so much crazy shit, man.
I will say, try almost everything one time. You probably don't need to try heroin.
Yeah. I mean, well, I don't know. I mean, people seem to love it. I don't know.
Actually, I remember watching this documentary on this one guy. He was like a Harvard professor or something, or Yale or something like that, and he microdosed. He was either heroin or methamphetamine every day. Like, he was like a psychology professor or something like that, and like he did drugs every day because they went under the right amount. I'm pretty sure it's heroin. Like, if you do like a certain amount, it creates something kind of like, like microdosing mushrooms or something like that. But he was like microdosing like acid or something crazy. And like, he was an educated professor, but I'm not telling anyone here to microdose these kind of drugs. But yeah, like there's some things you don't need to try. But when it comes to like anything that you believe could be productive in your life, try it. Right.
Yeah. And there's so many things out there now that are not harmful to the body, like psilocybin, even certain forms of LSD, MDMA. There's elements. I don't know. We're not medical professionals, but I do know that some of those, like Molly and MDMA, have an element. I think there's meth in one of them. So, and again, these things are illegal. Not so much anymore in the U.S. because now they're experimenting on it finally. But there are plenty of substances out there. And look, even though I've had a tumultuous relationship with alcohol for the last 20 years. I don't know if I told you guys this. I actually do have fatty liver disease, like a little bit. Like, it's not bad, but it's in there. I have to get scanned every year. Actually, Saturday, in 2 days, I have to go in for my annual so they can check it out. So I'm not really. Yeah, I used to drink. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, bye, work.
Speaking of drugs and psychedelics, what the hell is that? Yeah, that's funny. There's like
my Mac has some setting, and even if I'm on a Zoom or Google Meet, if I do like sometimes a thumbs up, it'll do like a bunch of thumbs.
Yeah, like, does this work? No, I don't. Does that work? I used to drink every single day, and it was no problem. When I say it was no problem, I went to work, like I didn't think anything of it. It was doing damage over time. So anyway, where I'm going with this is, and you've been around me enough, I drink occasionally, or or too much sometimes, but we've had drinks together, of course. But that was not like normal me years ago would have been like rack up 6 shots, and it would have been like you would have been carrying me out of places, which is no fun for anybody. But but the point I'm getting at is that even though alcohol technically is a poison, and we won't get into all that, like whatever, it also, for some people, it's like a social lubricant. It makes people feel a little bit better. So like, my advice to anybody who's even struggling with that, like I was, if you have a problem, you have a problem. But also, like, I don't demonize it either, because like, if I want to go have a drink or two, I go do it, and I hurt the next day, and I know it's not good for my body. But I'm not like, oh, you failed, kind of thing, because sometimes it's just nice to go sit around a bar and bullshit, So, dude, there's so many things out there. Everybody's got to pave their own way,
That's the big thing is what you said there. You don't demonize it, and that's the best advice you probably give for someone that's struggling with addiction, because as soon as you start to demonize it, that's when you have guilt and shame and regret, and it brings you down the spiral, and you start feeling bad about yourself. And what do? You go back to that coping mechanism, right? Yep. So admitting like, hey, yeah, I know this isn't good for me. I know I should probably seek help, but I'm going to have a drink today. Right? I'm not advocating people, if you have a drug addiction or an alcohol addiction, to like keep supplementing it and keep going, like, encouraging that addiction, but try not to demonize it. As soon as you demonize it, it's going to eat away at you. It's like, oh, I really wanted to quit smoking today. And like, God damn it, I'm such a fucking failure. I'm a loser. I smoked again today. And then you go into this like self-pity spiral. And then what do? You go back to drinking again, right? So don't demonize it. Admitting that you have a problem is the first step. Really is. Yep. But as soon as you demonize it, it's gonna just fucking eat you up.
It's the way Ori, and again, Ori's, you know, the guy that I do the other show with. I'm the producer over there. But he's also technically my therapist because he's a hypnotherapist, but he's clinical. He's like, he can help me through things. So we talk about my issues. That's part of the reason I'm on the show. He's like, man, there's so much content here. So we talk about my
There's
issues.
so many issues.
Yeah, he's like, this is great. We got a year's worth of shit. You know, he's like, are you sure? You know, like, you have any sexual thoughts against barnyard animals? I'm like, whoa, dude, where's this going? No, that didn't come up. But we do talk about alcoholism a lot, and the way he frames it, and I like it, is he's like, instead of saying, because there's days where I really want to drink, and I do it, but instead of saying, oh, I have to drink, or I have to have that cigarette, or I have to order that full fucking pizza and eat it myself, instead of saying that, he said, you choose to. Like, I'm at this bar because I chose to have a drink. I didn't need it, but I'm like, I want to have a beer. And that is as simple as that sounds. I'm like, I'll go sit at a bar, like maybe this weekend, and have a couple beers. And I'm like, I wanted this. It's not because I couldn't control my anxiety or whatever. It's because I chose to have a beer. And then you're like, okay, I'm good. You know, but you're right about that spiral. And that goes for anything. It goes for alcohol. It goes for, you know, cigarettes. It goes for eating, because people will do that same shit. They'll have one cigarette. They're like, well, I fucking ruined my streak. Now I got to fucking smoke every day again. Or they'll have a really shitty diet in the morning, and they'll be like, well, I ate shitty this morning, so I have to eat shitty for the rest of the day. And it sucks because and again, I know we're talking about this now. We still both do it. You know what I mean? It's like hard. It's like a mental battle, right?
No, yeah. It's like, all right, or you ruined the diet today, better just fucking go off the deep end, right? I'll start again tomorrow. So yeah, it's a never ending spiral, and I learned that when I started getting coaching and therapy, right? Because old me would have been like, oh, bad Sean, right? Fucking punishing myself for a habit or an addiction or something that I can't control because I don't have the help to, and I'm punishing myself, right? And I'm wondering why I'm not seeking help, right? Because then you're ashamed, you're embarrassed, you feel bad. It's funny how. I mean, the next piece of advice was when I talked about, you know, where I used to work from as well, is, you know, once you got to take yourself out of certain environments that aren't serving you anymore, right? And I didn't realize that, right? I mean, like, I had to legitimately leave my home country, travel down in an RV, come to Mexico, and then all of a sudden I find mental health and prosperity and things are growing. And like, I used to go to Mexico to get fucked up. Right? And now when I go home, I went home to Canada last year, all I did was drink when I went home. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get back to Mexico and get sober again. Like, what?
Yeah.
like Mexico's my sober haven, right?
Yeah.
But it literally took me leaving my country and like going to a new place to like be surrounded by people that are like-minded, not even like-minded, but are like, we weren't like-minded because I was not in the right mindset, right? But being around different mindset people where they're focused on, you know, like sound healing and meditation and breath work and ice baths and yoga and you know, inner child healing and therapy and development. Because I mean, you talk to anyone down here, it's like, yeah, you know, I just got a coach. Like, oh my God, I love my coach, right? Or it's like, oh yeah, I'm doing a meditation retreat. Oh, it's fucking amazing. I love yoga. You know, it's hard to, for me at least, where I grew up, it's hard to find anyone that does that. And if you do, it's at like Orange Theory, where it's $97 a fucking drop in, right? And it's all a bunch of people like, all right, today we're gonna do some infrared therapy, $100, right? Here's free classes everywhere, right?
I was just thinking as you're talking, because like, again, I'm up north also. You're obviously from Canada, from the U.S., and I'm up in the Detroit, the Michigan area. And there's a big city here, but it is funny, like, because I lived in Lauderdale for a long time. It's a very similar place to Playa del Carmen, where you and I met, and I was down there for the winter. It's like, there's two sides to that place, like, just like Lauderdale, just like anywhere in the Miami area. It's like, you could go there if you want and snort $1,000 up your nose, and you can party and drink, or you could go there and literally, like everything you just said, like, hey, you know, I want to try an ice bath or something. And it's not even, not only is it accessible, but it's also accepted, and it's not weird. You're almost weird if you don't do it. People are like, what do you mean you're not doing the ice bath? And what do you mean you're not going to go do this? Like, get your ass to the beach. We're going to do like something at sunset. And because most places, like you mentioned, where you're from or where I'm from, it'll be like, what are you going to do again? You know, like, what's this weirdo doing out here? So it is nice separating yourself from some of that shit. And I do believe that, what's that other cliche? We are the whatever of our five whatever friends,
like the outcome.
Yeah. So, and it's very true. And again, it's just getting yourself out of like a environment. And the thing is, like, you can always go back and visit. And what I tell people about anything, whether it's like they're getting married and having a kid, well, not having a kid's pretty tough, but getting married, like doing certain things, people are like, oh, I'm going to miss this, I'm going to miss that. And I'm like, dude, how about this? Like, try to live as best you can to yourself most of the year. And when you want to blow it out, because then trust me, you'll be like, oh, right, that's why I didn't like this. Because my friends in Fort Lauderdale are very similar. Like, they're party animals. They're awesome. I love those people. But the place was killing me. I mean, like, quite literally, it probably would have caused cirrhosis at some point, because the liver is getting fattier and blah, whatever. And it wasn't their fault. I was still drinking on my own. But point being, if I really if I'm like, I miss that life, and I do sometimes, I just want to go party with them, I could fly down there for 4 days, have a fucking crazy 4 days, and then come back. Like, you don't need to have all or nothing shit. Like, if you really miss that stuff, we're not saying to get healthy, you have to just not do those things anymore. You just, because it's a good reminder, man. You go have a blowout weekend and you're like, oh, that's why I don't do this shit anymore. This shit hurts,
Absolutely. It humbles you, right? And like, I have some friends down here where it's like 5 days a week they're partying, right? I'm like, oh my God. But they wake up and work or do whatever. I'm like, how do you do it? Like, ever since I started dating my girlfriend back in December, like, I rarely drink. Maybe I've gotten drunk 3-4 times, maybe 5 in the last 6 months, wherever it's been.
That's good.
Which is good, yeah. Because when I first came to Playa, it was like my friends, some of my friends I have every second night or something like that, right? And now they don't do it nearly as much, which is good because I'm more motivated, I'm healthy, I'm driven, our business is thriving, what we're doing, right? But yeah, you have those occasional times where I really feel like just having a bunch of fucking shots of tequila tonight, and then you wake up the next day like, oh, that's why I stopped. Oh,
yeah.
You just then, and my hangovers are 2 days long now, minimum, right? The first day is literally just lying in bed. The second day is getting outside. The third day is I guess I should try and be active again. So it's, yeah.
I would drink 7 days a week. And on my days when I was doing my old private, I realized that we've talked this entire time and nobody knows anything about us. So we'll get to that here in a minute. But I used to be a private investigator and I would work 7 days a week, for the most part. But on my working days, even if I worked late, I would go to the bar because it was just my thing. I would have to write my report for the day of what happened, the surveillance report for the day. So I would go sit at the bar and write that and have 3 or 4 beers. So there was never a day where I wasn't drinking at least a little bit. And then on my days off, the people I lived with, who I'd love to have them on the show. I was totally for it. They would knock on my bedroom door at 10 in the morning with a glass of champagne and hey, we're going to the beach bars. I'm like, awesome. So there was no break in it. And so it's only when you stop drinking, and we're only picking on alcohol right now, but there's other things, but it's only when you stop drinking for a while that you're when you go back to it, you're oh, wait a second. I probably didn't get hungover because I was just always recycling, my body never had a chance to be fuck you, kind of thing. But you're right, dude, those hangovers are fucking rough. And I'm glad they suck. Before I used to be man, I really hope I'm sober by morning so I can drive because every day I had to drive to a different location to do surveillance. So I'm I really hope I'm sober in the morning. And now when I'm on a vacation, I'm man, I hope I'm still drunk in the morning because I don't want to fucking feel this shit. So, dude, it hurts, man.
Feel the pain. Yeah,
this shit hurts.
Yeah.
Before we go through a whole show here and people don't even know who the fuck we are, we have a marketing agency all together. So just long story short or long story long, and we'll talk about this throughout the series. I label myself a chief marketing officer. I started as a copywriter. I have my own little agency. And when I say that, I've just had my own marketing business for a while now. And I've written for a bunch of stupid brands, and we'll get into all that crap later when we get into our specific business shows. And the story is I don't because I'm a baby, and I'm it's 50 degrees Fahrenheit in Michigan. I'm in a basement and I'm all bundled up now. But I don't there's actually a space heater over here too. I just don't have it on right now. But I don't like winters. I mean, who does? Some people say they do, but they're full of shit. And they're I love it. I'm no, you don't. No, you don't. I like winter sports. I like snowmobiling and I like skiing and all that shit. Nobody likes being cold. But so anyway, I came down to Mexico. I'd been there before to Playa del Carmen. We had this famous coffee shop down there that will be the focal point of an episode, I'm sure. That's where I met you. And obviously through you, I met a ton of people down there. And Sean, you're a web developer. You've been doing it for a really long time now, and we kind of all linked up our little group of people, and everybody will be on the show at different times, but we all have a different skill set. We've got email marketing experts, we've got branding and strategy experts, we've got I know I'm going to miss a few here, but we just have people. We have in our group of friends in our circle, we have enough people to form an agency, but we try to avoid that terminology because we're not really agency type people. But essentially, that's what we have now. We're just a bunch of people working together. I guess that's what it's called, a bunch of people working together doing marketing functions. So anyway, long story short, I came down to Mexico. I met you at the coffee shop, and then you were doing web development. You still are, and I'm like, I need that. And the next thing you know, here we are recording this shit 6 months later. So anyway, I'll let you give your quick little backstory there before we
Yeah. I mean, I would say we're a conglomerate or a collective.
Yeah, I like
That's
that.
what I do,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, because I mean, the thing with agencies is like they have set prices of like it's $10,000 a month retainer because they have so much overhead. They have so many staff members they have to pay. But the thing that I like about with us is, let's say we have a client that needs everything that we offer. Then we get our whole team involved, and we the price is accordingly. But we've had a few clients where they just need email marketing, so then we introduce them to our email marketing guys, and then they negotiate a price. So it's like everyone can do their own side projects inside of our agency, and if one client needs services from 2 or 3 or 4 of us, we do a group chat with the 4 of us, and we work on a package together. So there's no big overhead costs because we only charge the client for the exact service and need that they have, right? Because there's no point in charging like, oh, it's the minimum 10 grand, but they only need emails. Well, that's just what our agency charges, right? We design packages depending on what they want. So, basically, so my background, I did 5 years of structural engineering back in the day. So that's where I got my computer skills. I was really good at, like AutoCAD and Rhino and designing buildings and architecture. And that's where my love for design came from, really. And then I worked in an office in Calgary, Alberta as a structural technologist there. Excuse me. And I fucking hated it. I just hated being in a cubicle with a screen, looking outside, it's sunny and nice. I'm like, oh. So, I got a job on the railroad, the oil rigs, this forest firefighter, heavy equipment operator, gold miner. What else did I do? I was a site superintendent, civil construction foreman, signal maintainer for the railway. I'm sure I'm missing a few different jobs that I've had. I worked in a ranch, cattle and horses and stuff like that. I was a rock scaler and blaster, so I used to scale 300 to 400 foot cliffs on a hemp rope and scale down and drill into a mountain, fill it full of dynamite, blow it up. Done a lot of different shit. And then
every man job you can think of, you've literally done every man job.
Yeah, actually, I met this guy named Matt. He's an angel investor, and he actually ended up meeting my girlfriend last weekend or something like that, and I wasn't there. And so they kind of, Sean, the Gavin's girlfriend, and this Matt guy's like, yeah, your boyfriend has lived many lives. Right? But yeah, but I did I did some affiliate marketing and high ticket sales where I built funnels and web pages and landing pages for these other companies for my team and my niche, what I had. And then that's kind of where I got into the online space, and I've been doing it for about 5 years now. And then, during COVID, I wanted to get the fuck out of Canada because I saw the crazy tiring that was going on. It's still going on up there, which we'll get into politics another episode, right? But
absolutely, we will.
Yeah, because that could be a month's episode. We just talk about the shit that's going on in the world. But yeah, so then I had to wait for a couple life events to transpire, and we'll get into that in another episode with my mother and whatnot. And then left Canada and just started doing e-commerce and drop shipping, and then got back into web development, started freelancing, and yeah, and actually when we met, it was because of.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, we should get this show is not sponsored by ASUS, but it should be. We should contact them. Yeah. Yeah, I had an extra screen on me.
You're using the screen. I saw you a few days in there. I'm like, where'd you get that? And you ended up selling me your screen. Then you told me you're starting up your conglomerate, but you're looking for a web designer, and we started working. And the next thing you know, you said 6 months later, here we are doing a podcast together, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's crazy how that works. But again, this is for anybody who's listening or watching. It's important to put yourself out there. We'll have shows about, the human lead magnet, as we like to call Sean. We'll have some shows about that and just getting clients and client acquisition, whether you work online or, you're in one particular place. And, you may be online, but you don't have like a big community around you. We'll get into all that, which we've been pretty good at lately. But yeah, everything you said about the anti-agency, whatever we want to call it, we're more nimble. We don't have to charge as much. I think it works out. At least it's working thus far. So, and we've had a lot of wins and a lot of fails. If we're going to talk about all that shit, because people want to hear that too. Like, we've fucked up plenty of things, So we've got,
we'll definitely get into the topic of picking and choosing your clients.
Yeah.
We'll get into that topic.
Yeah, there's lots to talk about there.
One advice I'll give right now is the ones that pay the most are the least amount of issues. The one that pay the least are the most issues. I don't know what it is. I've had clients where it's like, how much for this site? I'm like, $3,500. Done. It's payment send. I'm like, all right. And I bill it. I'm like, do you want any revisions? No, it's amazing. We love it. And the ones that like nickel and dime everything, it's like, well, I want this and I want that. And I need this and I need that. And this isn't right. It's like, why? It's
100%. And I don't know what it is either, but that's been my experience. It's every fucking time. And right away if you give somebody a proposal and your proposal's reasonable, and if they're like, well, could you give me a break? That should be your like, leave the room or shut your computer immediately and get the fuck out of there. But of course, because we're all like scarcity mindset, and no matter how much we know better, we're like, oh my God, because the thing is, as a online entrepreneur or whatever, you kind of like, or just any entrepreneur, like you're not, your next paycheck's not guaranteed. So we're always like, we have to like lock in the deal. So we all fall for it, man. We all do every time.
Well, and the worst part too is you fall for it because, again, the scarcity mindset that we're all working on, right? And then because you do that, you're now, instead of like a normal client that has zero issues, or not zero, but very minimal issues, those clients run smoothly. But the ones that always nickel and dime cause you so much issues, now you're using so much of your brain capacity, so much of your thoughts, so much of your time you're not getting fucking paid for to deal with the issue, the bullshit, the drama. They're now not able to accept more projects. You're not looking for anything new. So you actually miss opportunities to get the ideal client you've been waiting for. Right. And it just, it's just like, again, the spiral effect of, downfall of some things. And it's crazy. And actually talking about what you said, the human lead magnet. So for any of those out there, so we'll do this in another episode talking about like how to approach people as well. But there's actually a really good book that I bought a long time ago. Actually, she was a guest speaker at an event that I went to in Toronto. I forget, it's not Rhonda Byrne. I forget. Olivia something. Anyways, it's called
Now we got to come up with it, because what's the book called? Sorry.
The Charisma Myth.
Let me look it up while you're, let me just make sure.
So it's called the Charisma Myth. And so basically it debunks the myth that some people are born charismatic or not charismatic. So basically charisma, or being charismatic, is a skill that you can develop and learn, right? So this book teaches you how to approach people, how to talk, how to have conversations, how to use the skills that you have. Even whether you're introverted or extroverted, you can use the skills in this book to learn how to approach people and talk. Like I said, with Justin, with the screen, we actually hired a girl to do some mock-ups for an email marketing company, or for our email marketing company that's doing emails for a THC company. I saw her just doodling, right? And I was like, and it literally, the day before, we were talking about how we need a graphic designer. So I just like walked up to her, hey, excuse me, are you by chance like an artist or graphic designer? Yeah, we have a project. Boom, working relationship, right? Like it's all about learning how to be charismatic and how to approach people, even if you're, again, introvert or extrovert. So did you find the book on there?
I did. It's Olivia Fox Cabane. It looks like her name is Cabane.
Yes.
Yeah, no, very, very, very true. And like you mentioned, like just making that small connection, like walking up to somebody and starting a bullshit conversation, that actually, her designs that she helped us with, and hopefully we can have her on at some point. She's a graphic designer, but she's also like a full, I forget, I don't want to get it wrong, but I know she does like full branding, and she's done illustrations for children's books, I believe. We won't mention her name here because we don't have permission to, but hopefully we can have her on, and I'm sure she would love to talk about what she does. But yeah, that little small conversation and getting her involved actually led to us getting the contract, because again, just small little, it's like those small things. Everybody looks at the world like, I have to accomplish all this shit. I'm like, just move the needle a little bit every day, and those things pan out. And conversely, we've met a lot of people that ended up being a total time drain on us and stress on us. And like you were mentioning a minute ago, it's the mental overhead, right? So let's say you meet a potential client and you're like, this looks pretty good. And then, of course, we're all talking behind the scenes about it, because, we have to like plan, like, okay, who's going to do what? And then like, you know, for example, I'll go write up a contract, and these things are easy, but it's still like time out of my day, it's time out of your day to do all the communications and everything. It's time, the meetings are a time out of all of our days, and all that mental overhead, like you were saying, you hit it right on the head, where it's like all this mental overhead that we're doing that we could be working with other clients or just doing nothing, maybe napping, you know, and that's the price you pay as an entrepreneur. And I don't think anybody's quite figured out how to get around that yet, but we will talk about it, because we've had plenty of things go right. We've had plenty of fucking things that are just like irritating as shit.
Well, I think the biggest one, not even just like the mental overhead, I would say it was the negative mental overhead. Right? When you have those clients at nickel and dime and they're causing you problems and headaches and stress. So now your mindset's in like, oh God, bullshit, right? And I come home to my girlfriend's house and like, she's like, you all right? I'm like, yeah, well, actually, you just have this like look like you're frustrated. I'm like, I am, right? But then that frustration carries over into the other projects I'm working on, or the next conversation, or my personal life, or my relationships. So it's draining in so many ways. Like, you got to really pick and choose. But again, we're all guilty for it. We all do it. I mean, I pick and choose jobs. I've had jobs where like, not with the actual physical jobs. I've had job interviews where it was like, I shouldn't take this job, and then you take it, and you're like, fuck, right? There's actually one time where I listened to my inner voice, and it was after I quit CN. Oh, I got fired. Actually, I'll explain that. We'll go down that story. I got fired from CN. I took like 6 months off in the summer. I was like, I'm gonna have a hot girl summer this summer. Like, fuck it, right? Like, I'm just gonna party and go boating. And I'm like, looking at my bank, and I'm like, I'm starting to run out of money. I should probably get a job. So I was applying. Everyone knew I was hiring, and I got a job interview at a sawmill, like doing making sheets of wood and plywood and stuff like that. So and it was like $29 an hour back in 2013, 2014. So it was good money back then. Right? That's back when rent was $1,000 for a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom house, right? Like you could live off fucking $10 an hour. How times have changed. But yeah, so I go in the interview, and like they bring me up in the boardroom, and the boardroom's like on the second floor. They have a big glass window that overlooks like the factory. And so I'm in there waiting for them to come in. I'm looking down, and I'm just seeing these guys like sheets of wood. And so the person walks in, I'm like, is this what they do all day? She's like, yep, a good 12-hour shift. I'm like, no, I just walked out. I was like, no, I'm not.
Yeah, they needed like, they have this thing, and I don't know if you've heard of the Kennedy Center. It's this thing in D.C. It's obviously named after John Kennedy, the president that was killed. But they give out lifetime awards. They need to have like what we call in the U.S. blue collar. You need to have like, do they call it the trades in Canada? I don't know. But you need to get like the blue collar lifetime award for every fucking blue collar like man job. Like you fucking checked all of that. I love it. But
I've done so many jobs. One of the jobs I had that was probably the hardest would be like the rock scaling and blasting one. Even oil rigging. Like, oh my God, like there'd be days where I would work 16 to 18 hours a day, and you would literally just go at it's minus 50, minus 60 Fahrenheit, so it's cold. Yeah. And so you're dressed as much as you can, but you have to wear like thin cotton gloves. You have to be able to touch the pipe and like grab the tongs and operate the drill heads like that. So your hands are just covered in water and oil, and you're fucking freezing. You're out there for 6 hours straight. Then as soon as you finish tripping the pipe out, you run down in the tool shack. You shove a sandwich in your mouth. You power puff 6 cigarettes, shotgun a Monster Energy drink, and you go back out and you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. I remember I did like 30 days straight. By day 19, I remember waking up in my little bunk, like look out the window, like open the window, and it's like ice is forming on the inside. It's so cold. It's black, and you just hear and snow. I just go.
Yeah.
I was dating a girl in the camp there. She's a yoga instructor. And I remember one day she had the audacity to tell me how hard her day was. I'm like, stop.
Yeah.
You were inside all day doing yoga.
Oh God. Yeah. Oh, thankfully there's people like that. There's people like you that are willing to do it when they're younger, because somebody's got to do that shit. But it kind of goes back to like, it's funny now. We're always comfortable now. Like there's actually I have this thing there's a book that was written by an American author called The Comfort Crisis, and I forget the name of the guy I should mention. But we're bringing up all these books and people, and we're not even like giving them credit. But I think about that a lot, is like, because I used to be very uncomfortable, like in the military and in law enforcement. I've had some rough days as well, where it's just like, you're just like this. I cannot possibly be any more miserable than I am right now. And now I'm like, I'm like, I'm cold. I'm going to put I have my slippers on here. Let me show you. I got my manatee slippers on because it's so cold down here. Let me see if I get a good shot of these here. Little manatee wearing a bikini.
Yeah, manatee
Yeah,
slippers.
yeah. So, but the thing is, like, I'm trying to be cognizant of that, like at an older age, or as I'm kind of like, we're people of convenience now. Obviously, you live in a convenient place, and you've got everything's walking distance. You got your motorcycle, whatever, and then like I'm in the U.S. I get stuff delivered on Amazon. We're very comfortable as species, but even as remote workers, we're very, very comfortable now. Like, I don't remember the last time that I mean, you obviously you crashed the other day, so you were probably uncomfortable, but I don't really remember the last time I had to just stand out in the rain or stand out in the cold and just be fucking miserable. I can't recall that. And I'm almost thinking like, maybe I need to start doing that. I need to start making myself miserable, to not get too comfortable. I'm not sure. But this goes back also to the types of work that we do. Where you have that steady paycheck, like the jobs that you had, and like the corporate jobs that I had, like we've both been in and out of like cubicle life and like fucking hard life, and it's like there's a steady paycheck there, there's some security there. So we don't have that now, and we have physical comfort, but our mental comfort is always at risk, being a remote worker or online entrepreneur, because it's a roller coaster. Like, we think there's going to be money coming, and even when a bunch of money comes in at once, it's like, my immediate thought isn't, oh, this is great, we're good for a couple of months. My immediate thought is, oh, we got to find somebody after this, you never, the goalpost keeps moving. And a lot about what we'll talk about in the show related to mental health. And look, we both started like in the online space, a little bit later. I was 40 and I think you were in your 30s, obviously. But it's just another testament to say that it doesn't matter how old you are, whether you're 22 just getting out of university or college, or just out of high school, because most people don't even need college anymore, or if you're older like me, you can literally come and do what we're doing. It just takes a little bit of nerve, and it's a whole different set of stress. So having your mental health locked in, because some of those jobs that you had, you probably didn't even have time to be stressed out. You're just so tired. Like, you didn't have time to sit with yourself unless you're out there freezing and thinking about the shit all the time. I don't know, but
no, I mean, like I was stressed, but it was like in the moment stress, right? It wasn't like now, like at the end of the workday, I'm going to have stress about, how the proposals I sent out, if they're going to come to fruition, if this contract's going to land. I have like, I don't know what the proper terminology is, but I have like after work stress. Right? Yes. Where the jobs I had before, it was in the moment stress, like, oh my God, this is going to kill me. The rope could break. Like there's hammers flying in my face. Like that. But at the end of the day, like, when you get home from there, it's like,
yeah, that's it.
Brain dead. You're fucking brain dead. I had no mental. I remember I worked 39 hours once in the oil rigs. I literally got to my hotel and I just went, just like, out for 2 days. But yeah, like now it's, like you said, it's different stress because there's no guarantee. It's kind of funny. Like, I mean, like, I was talking to my coach yesterday, I think it was. No, days went together. But we're talking about like, red lines. Like what is the minimum amount of money I want to have in my bank account before I start getting scared? What's the minimum amount of money I want coming in to cover my bills? Like all of these actual like numbers, and I never had that before. And it's funny is, a couple weeks ago, I didn't have any payments coming in for like 3 weeks, right? And it wasn't because because I was. A lot of the work that I do half up front, half when completed. So I had all the money coming in, 4 weeks ago for a lot of these projects. Now I'm in the middle of building it. So I know even though I knew I had money coming once I'm done and I have all these proposals coming out, my mindset's going like, oh my God, like I'm going to crash and burn. And I still had like, I had money in savings and I was paying off like line of credits and credit cards, but I had like, $5,000 US in the bank. Right. And like, I was like panicking. I'm like, oh my God, I only have $5,000. Like, even though I had money in line of credits we take out and I had credit cards, sure. But like, I was panicking. And then I like thought about it, like literally like a year ago, I was $43,000 in debt. I was negative 200 in overdraft and I was living off rice and beans. And like, I was stressed then, right? Like I have a 2-bedroom condo that I live with my roommate. I have a place with my girlfriend and buy a car. I got food in the fridge. I got $5,000 in the bank. So like, it does not matter how much you progress in your business. You're always going to have the fear of something not going right. Because like my red line a year ago was, can I afford fucking food? Like I was literally probably about a week or two away from calling my dad, asking like, give me money, I'm flying home. Like I quit. Like I can't do it. Right. But we'll go into my origin story in another episode. But yeah, like my red line back then was like, can I eat today? Like, can I fuck? I couldn't even afford gas to get out of the parking lot of the gas station I was parked at my motorhome in Mexico. Didn't speak Spanish. I was fucking stranded. Girlfriend just left. I gave her my last $2,000 to fly her back to Switzerland. I was like, oh my God, right? And so like now, even though like a year later, my red line is like, oh my God, I paid off $26,000 in debt. I have $5,000 in the bank. Like, I'm panicking. Like, it's been a lot worse. It's been a lot worse.
Oh, for sure, man. And we're all guilty of that. I can think of everything you just said there. I can point to a bunch of shit I've probably been complaining about and worried about this week. And I've got everything I need around me, like it's again, going back to the comfort thing, but we always move the goalpost. We're always like, wherever we get, we're like, oh, fuck, no, I need more. Like if somebody gave me 10 grand right now, I'd be like, oh, I need 20 though. I need 20 or I'm not going to be, it's not going to be enough. But dude, the struggle is real. And that's what we hope to get into. And we have tons of content coming up. This is our first show, our pilot episode, whatever you want to fucking call this.
Yeah, we're already an hour into it too. An hour and 8 minutes. Like, that went fast.
Yeah. Well, for anybody who's hung around this long and hasn't either filed a complaint or tried to get us canceled yet or anything else, we'll definitely be coming up with different formats, and we'll try to categorize these so it's easy for the listeners and the watchers to pick and choose what types of shows they want to listen to and different topics. But we will try to keep, as best we can, the business and the mental health stuff separate. But again, these things all kind of tie together. So we can't make any promises on formatting. We can't. We're always going to be vulgar because we're going to be ourselves. We're not here to put on a show for cameras, because I have, been in places, we've been in meetings, we've been in shows and on shows that I produce where I have to watch my mouth because they're for whatever, and that's not what this fucking show is for. So
no, I mean, that's probably good for our first episode. This is definitely a good intro for people to learn about who we are, our style, if they like our methodology, our conversations. And yeah, I mean, again, this is the pilot episode to see what it's like. And usually most pilot episodes are like the 20 minutes ones, and then they go into like the 45-minute one on Netflix or whatever. We're doing the opposite. We're doing an hour and 10 minutes, which is it went by so quick. But yeah, I'm excited to see what kind of format we have. The Strat Show is going to be encompassing so many different areas. We have so many people even in our direct affiliation or organization or conglomerate that we have.
Cartel. It's our cartel.
Yeah, it's our cartel.
Probably shouldn't say that, but yeah, it's our cartel.
Oh, I know. I remember. I'm a part of the Mexican cartel now, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's a good story too. Yeah, but like Sean, but as Sean was saying, we've got all these people in our group that we'll have on, so it won't just be most of the time. It'll be me and Sean. I'm Lee Payton for anybody who's listening to this. Sean Lyons. For most of the time, it'll be the two of us on here. We'll be the main host, and like you mentioned, all the people in our group that we've talked about earlier. So you'll hear from branding experts, email experts, and all marketing functions and entrepreneurship. So we're not just a marketing show. We're not just a health and wellness show. We're also going to have on just anything online entrepreneurship, and people have the ability to leave us comments. We will read all of those. So try to be kind about my hairline and my orange face and all that other shit. So we will answer questions, and we will have different types of people on, all different backgrounds, and remote workers, some that aren't working remote, people that trying to do that. We want to bring as much to the table as we can and get to the bottom of everybody's shit. So